Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Respecting the Beer. My name is Gary Arndt. With me again are the usual suspects. The man whose brewing skills is rivaled only by his woodworking capabilities, Bobby Fleshman, and the professor of atoms and molecules, Allison McCoy. And back on the show is Ben Fogel from the Appleton Beer Factory. One of the things we want to talk about, we mentioned this in the previous episode that you were on. You guys are very close. And by close, I mean, literally, you are very close. Your buildings are right next to each other.
Oh, too soon. Gary said wood, by the way.
And you guys have a relationship that is very unlike two similar, I would not just say breweries, but just companies that you're literally next door neighbors. You're doing kind of the same thing, but your relationship is not what people would probably expect. And any of you can jump in on this. Like, you're not, well, the fact that you're on this show, I think is kind of indicative of the fact that you're not really super competitive with each other. And in fact, you've helped each other out in quite a few instances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, we want to do some, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but a little bit of research to see if there are any two other breweries that are
this close.
Yeah. Ooh. They would have to be literally
10 paces apart,
right next door to each other.
Well, in our plan to put a pipe bridge between the two breweries for the various reasons.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I don't know. When that, well, if it did, I think that would make it ever more quote connected and close. I think that would maybe be the drop of the mic.
So what do we share? So we are close. So we're good friends, for one. Mm-hmm. In fact, during COVID, our kids were all, so Leah Fogel, who's part of the ownership and all that, so she actually watched my kid and your two kids during COVID because we worked so closely together. We were all kind of like a packed group. And it was cute because all the kids thought that everyone owned a brewery because they own a brewery and we own a brewery. And
instead of where's your bathroom, my kid walks in and says, where's your brewery?
Yeah, because she was just under the impression that everyone owned a brewery because all the people that she hung out with.
Yeah.
But we own a canning machine together. We own a forklift together.
Keg washer. Oh, basically a warehouse we lease together.
Yeah, and we have collaborated. We have our own sour beer program together. There are countless bits of equipment.
Yeah.
And it's like, so from a small business perspective, we couldn't afford to just McFleshman's own the forklift and the canning machine and the keg washer and all that.
It'd be a lot more difficult.
It's so much harder. And so we share these resources, which is crucial. And navigating a small business.
That German philosophy about you only need one chainsaw per neighborhood or per street.
It's one word and it's very long and it has all that definition in it.
So it's just something in German. Yeah.
And so the pipe bridge idea is that currently we have a canning machine that we have to reassemble in either establishment. And so if we could do a pipe bridge, that would be a big pipe that bridges the two buildings.
Pipes,
And so then you just hook up your beer and you pump it through the pipe, and so you can relocate the beer to wherever the canning machine
We're really just putting that in so we can put the old bank teller chute so we can shoot beer cans back and forth.
That is what you want to do.
That's all we want to do.
But how would that work?
You have a vacuum on both sides.
I understand how the bank tellers.
Oh my God! I thought we were going to take a tangent there.
Right? That's okay.
But if you guys were to like set up some sort of pipe bridge, right now it's 5 degrees outside.
Mm. Oh yeah, we wouldn't leave it in the pipe.
You need to insulate it. Do you need to support it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's
a lot to
that. We'll go into that one. We're going through all the engineering challenges with that for sure. The first one is you want to be clear of all the trucks that go through the alley, and we've already cleared that hurdle. So one thing at a time.
City is on board.
Yeah, we just got to push.
And what would you be moving back and forth?
Oh well,
beer.
You want to jump right to it? Ben has more capacity to brew than we do. So a couple of things. We want to move finished beer over there and then package over there. He has more space to set up a permanent packaging hall, like Allison was talking about. But also we brew a lot. Ben brews a lot of beer for us on his bigger system that we don't have the capacity to brew. And in return, I have this idea that because our system's 1/3 as big as his on any given turn of brewing, that we can start brewing more. And we've done this a little bit, but more of his flavors that he's going to commit a full 20 barrels to. So I think the symbiosis here is
size-wise.
play
So
well.
our system is a 10-barrel system. So we have
we can squeak 10 barrels maybe.
We brewed twice to fill our 20-barrel fermenters. Ben has a 20-barrel system that he brews twice to fill his now new 40-barrel
fermenter.
And then you brew on it once, and so to fill your multiple 20-barrel fermenters. And so
So
Basically,
moving liquid back and forth, Gary, is what it is. It's at various stages. We're going to make use of his fermentation space or his brewing space and vice versa.
And not only beer, actually, but there's utilities to share as well.
And there's utilities for anyone that we're looking. Once get into the nitty gritty, I have a plan where we can connect our cooling systems for all of our fermentation tanks, such that a valve opens when one system fails on either side of the alley, and it's the insurance policy on the other. And that's a big thing, big deal. Every time I open the back door of this brewery, I'm waiting to hear that beeping sound on our
my
glycol
gosh,
system.
the glycol.
It
That
is
whole episode on the damn
imperative.
glycol system.
Oh, the glycol is
Oh, is there
everything, because the
episode
glycol
on it?
keeps your
Yeah.
Well,
fermentation
there
on
should be.
track. Yeah, it's the whole thing.
critical, but also air.
Oh, and then there's
Literally
air.
just
Yep.
compressed air.
Yep.
We're gonna have a nitrogen generator here sooner rather
Oh
than
my
later.
God,
hopefully.
nitro,
yeah.
yes.
There could be
So-
ways to do other utilities, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a million opportunities once we build it. I was going to make it a catwalk. I got that shut down.
Well,
Well,
The other thing that I think is really helpful.
And you'd have models going across it all the time.
The other thing that's helpful that we share is just expertise. So in the last episode, Ben talked about how when y'all first brewed on your system, you didn't know what you were doing and stuff. And likewise, like we've been learning about all the technical aspects, but between all of us, we've got expertise in all these different fields that will rely on each other.
yeah, I mentioned I didn't know how to TIG weld. His dad taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
And I got all the science background and various other engineering.
And if
angles.
Appleton
Yeah.
Beer Factory is doing well and we're doing well, we don't want them to not do well. And so I think that a lot of our patrons appreciate going back and forth between
right.
the two
It's a
establishments.
destination.
Yeah. So
That's made us intentional, I think, both sides,
Mm-hmm.
as to how we grow each of our brands, because complementing each other is good.
yeah.
Let's then talk about the actual projects you guys have worked on together. Allison's mentioned it several times, the 10 paces. What was the genesis of that?
Well, before Ben takes over, well, maybe Ben does take over.
Take over what?
The story.
It
I
happened
started
in
somewhere in 14. So
2014,
because I was
15.
over at Stone Arch for a couple of years, and I helped them kick off a sour program. They
Stone
were
Arch
doing,
is the brewing company down the street that was pretty much the
yeah, they were on episode probably
Yeah.
the top.
Oh,
10,
yeah, Steve was
first
on.
10
Yeah.
episodes. But yeah, so I started that up, and I built a bacteria culture over there, and
pause. Hang on.
yeah,
So this is a good thing.
Yeah, I used to say bugs, and people said that's weird. So I'm trying.
So-
I still say bugs.
Yeah.
Sour beer is made with bacteria, much like yogurt is, and you were able to culture.
And you work kind of outside of your other brewery, your
Yeah.
other brewing area, because you don't want that
You don't
stuff
want that, yeah.
in the way of
And
your clean beers.
you worked in a very clean environment to intentionally create
Yeah.
these or culture these.
We were in
bacteria.
this. I was in this place they call Logistics, like 3 miles or maybe a couple miles away from their main brewery. Anyway, I started working on that with the intention of both growing their program, but eventually having our own, because we were planning the brewery then. But then Ben made you were in Belgium, right, with your wife Mari.
Yeah. We did a little sightseeing, obviously, and I added Cantillon to
Cantillon.
our list since we were over there. So her and I got to tour it, and then we brought some bottles home, which are super cheap at the brewery, by the way.
By the way, Cantillon is a museum as well, right? They're a brewery and a museum.
Monastery? Are they a monastery? Are they?
No,
They're not Trappist, are
No,
they?
they kept the lambic style alive though through the war. I think they emerged as one of the few lambic
That
breweries.
didn't get bombed.
Yeah.
So you bring Cantillon
Right.
home,
We,
and then
we
you
get to enjoy it together. Still
invite
remember
us
that night,
over.
yeah.
And
Allison was having a moment about it.
I put the foil on top of each bottle with the intention to propagate the bacteria up the next day. I think I mentioned this on a previous podcast, but I put them in like 50 mil little bitty tiny little Erlenmeyers, and the Erlenmeyer is the V-shaped glass, whatever, or I hate triangle shape. And then I would take that into a 500 mil, and then up to eventually to 5 gallons, and then that 5 gallons for each one of those.
So you stole their bacteria?
This is common
we found
in beer.
it in a
yeah.
or recycled it. In
Yeah.
a bottle.
We resourced it. Yeah, this is not uncommon in beer. In fact, it's really how lager became lager. One brewery had the original lager strain. We're still sorting out who that was, but it was shared amongst everybody. That's why we have lager so ubiquitous now, and all the different ale strains that pop up.
Beer, really.
And beer
anyway,
itself, yeah, all together. brewers share all the time. That said, there are brewers that seek to patent and to keep their yeast out of the market, and they work really hard to filter it out entirely from their end product, so it doesn't make it into the world.
But you added the Cantillon.
Added Cantillon back to the dregs, the combination of bacteria that we had at the other brewery. So we made it our own. We've just been sort of evolving them alongside. And at this point, I've worked with students that have quantified what's in those barrels. And what's interesting about them, by the way, this is a 10-year program. People may not get that when they come here. They think, oh, cool, there's a sour
That's true,
beer.
because it really was our first beer that we brewed
Yeah, it's
on
been
our
10,
system.
yeah, and like I said, it started 11 years ago now. But we had students measure in the barrel, and we see stratification of colonies. So it's a wildly complicated, it's a layering of different bacteria at different levels in the barrel. It's a wildly complicated program, and it's wildly complex.
So
Yeah,
just to be clear,
yeah,
the 10 Paces beer that you're brewing today
yeah. In reference
is
to the
made from
separation,
that you're using the same bacterial culture that you got.
we're how many generations down the line are we? That's the thing. We don't really
Yeah, I understand
know.
that, but the point
but
is
it
the
is
origin
that
story,
lineage. Yeah.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You guys need to explain this to people.
That's what we're trying to do. We may be fumbling over our words, but this is our opportunity to at least start that. But yeah, we could do a
really
lot
cool.
better job marketing this.
So
and
the 10 Paces
branding it.
brand is
Yeah.
the joint brand of the sour beer
Yeah.
that we've made and we foster, and it's all brewed in the basement of ABF
Yeah.
Because we have the room.
because you have the room, and we've got these barrels, and we've got this like refrigerator room thing,
It's environment controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's our sour beer.
And we don't
program.
just do this for a long time just to make it a long time. It's how long it takes to acidify and develop these flavors, because one bacteria
way.
will kick in when another one is now dormant, and,
Yeah.
and it takes months and months.
And what's
for that
fun
to
is
happen.
the brand 10 Paces. So I think we're building it into kind of this idea of like the dueling brewery. So we're 10 paces apart. So it's like a duel.
Yeah,
And at
play
any
on
time,
words.
you should be able to go into either McFleshman's or ABF, and you'll see 10 Paces and then the name of the beer.
Whose Paces? Who measured this?
Oh, yeah.
Because I went out there once and I actually checked, and I got 8.
It was mine.
I was
all-
going to
Yeah.
say that as a joke.
Yes. I am very short.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Also, 10 sounds better than 8, doesn't it?
8 Paces,
Yeah.
10 Paces.
I don't know.
Maybe we were a little bit diagonal when we measured it. Maybe we were a little bit into it at the
Wasn't
time.
beer influenced.
We also
So-
make hot sauce together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're jumping way ahead.
Well, it's a
That-
part of the 10 Paces
that was-
brand.
Absolutely.
That was an idea that I think I came up with, and then my then head brewer Shane Butner is a foodie and hot sauce lover, and I think he had been working on some benchtop stuff at home, and I put it to him to put in front of us some options, and we settled on one particular recipe
So I have
that
a
we
question.
eventually scaled up and threw into these barrels, a la Tabasco, how they do their program.
So yeah, so what why can we do hot sauce? Like
Okay.
what about the sour,
Now there's
sour
fermented
beer
hot
program?
sauces, and then there's hot sauces that people make and they dump vinegar into. That's not what this is. This is fully natural production of acids, and it's using the same bacteria that's on the produce, and as well as what's in the staves of those sour beer barrels that we formerly use to make sour beers. And
So the barrel goes, so it makes a lambic.
well.
and
First,
then
it
we-
makes a cider.
mean,
This
this
Oh,
is
is
that's
all
fair.
one
Yeah,
layer.
it
top.
makes a cider, and then it makes a lambic, and then from there
or
it makes a hot
another
sauce.
sour, but one sour or another, and then it eventually. To be honest, we're not using barrels that we love in the beer, because we're with beer we're looking for some very nuanced production of different aromas and flavors, but when we're talking about hot sauce, we're looking for some pretty bold production of acid and some pretty bold flavors that'll be heavily salted, et cetera, et cetera. So we take barrels that are no longer what I would say the highest quality for making sour beers. So we just have this constant use of these barrels. They're beautiful barrels. If you've never walked up to some of these wine barrels that come from France or the West Coast in America, they are really well produced, and we want to keep them in our family as long as possible. The bourbon barrels that we use for different projects, those are good
gonna be-
furniture.
yeah,
After
So
yeah.
you're making hot sauce in wine barrels?
Oh yeah, it takes a good year. Yeah.
Okay, Gary's gonna again. Can I pretend to be Gary? Why aren't you advertising
Advertising.
this?
There ought to be a sound bite and a button. We just
No,
start
seriously,
pushing.
it's just like hot
'Cause we-
sauce.
Yeah.
We have it.
That,
Yeah, we exist. It exists.
that's all it is. It's like it's hot sauce that
Man.
we make, but you're not.
We
You need to
really got
explain
to
like this is.
Yeah.
Like you said, this distinction between a vinegar based and one
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
fermented.
Yeah.
Or not fermented, but
Well, it is from it's it's.
But
Yeah.
it's
There
only
is
through
probably-
conversation. Like this podcast has been so
Right.
helpful in us realizing the stuff that because it's just day to day work for us. We
Barrel
don't
And it's
recognize-
side work.
hot sauce.
But it's true. It's
Yeah.
side work.
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
We're
Most
like-
people just think like take some hot stuff, put it together, blah, 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 mix it
Blend
up,
it,
boom,
yeah.
hot sauce.
Yeah.
And that's not what you're doing.
No.
Not at all.
And
No, I know.
I didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
and this is the way I approach business. And at some point,
Make it as complicated as
yeah, it's true. I was going to say exactly that. Having been be a spiritual partner in business is good for me because I do make things really complicated, and I spend a lot of time like building story and product
spreadsheets.
and spreadsheets.
Yep.
But then I don't really spend time marketing, and I don't spend.
This is where
time-
we do suck.
Yeah, we could do a lot of more. We can do a lot more.
Yeah, we're not great at it either. And but I really think a lot of it is because these are side projects.
Right.
These are not our main focuses.
Well, and
Yeah.
we're very small businesses. The two of you are leading both businesses, and so the number of things that y'all have on y'all's plate on any given day,
It definitely gets kicked to the bottom of the
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're making it, but
Yeah.
we're not going to take the time to really
to
get it
tell
out there.
anybody
But
about.
my
We need
hope-
other people's help with that.
And my hope is that we're eventually going to scale to a place where we have enough employees that we can parse out these projects. I don't want to continue adding projects over and over, although the market keeps telling us to keep doing new stuff, but that's another conversation.
But the reason the reason we do it is to generate like energy and buzz around it, except
it's
that
true.
we aren't doing a good job.
It's true.
getting-
We've now created another product
Yeah.
that needs more. It needs a way to get it advertised so we
Speaking
can
of
advertise for
energy
the other
and
thing.
buzz, dare I bring up lava lamp?
Oh, geez.
Lava lamp. Yeah.
Lava lamp.
This happened after drinks.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. And I've always felt I would not categorize
some.
I would not put this into the bin of good ideas,
Oh, this is.
but I also
ideas.
would not put it into the bin of bad ideas because I think that so what we're talking about here is beer with cheese curds in it.
Yeah.
In clear bottles or
In clear bottles,
Sorry,
which,
clear cans.
which is
Clear
I thought
cans.
was
Clear cans,
one of
yeah.
the smart things about it.
Yeah. That's what spurred it.
Yeah.
We were at a table next to us where we're sitting now. We were having beers and
Us and Stone Arch.
I
and,
think you sell
and
this to
Oliver from
people
Hop Yard.
from Illinois who come to Wisconsin in gift shops.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
That's who you sell it to. This is
Yep,
a
it's a full-on
This
novelty.
is you market this to fibs.
No, this
this is
Not meant to be good beer.
yeah,
no.
yeah.
This is not for us.
anyone that
This
goes
is for
on
them.
anyone that goes on Untapped and gives it a score and then they say cheese curd beer. It's not what I usually come to expect a cheese curd beer. I'm like, how many cheese curd beers?
You know that now that the internet exists, you can say something like, surely someone has done that somewhere. That falls into that category. Yes, someone has put cheese curds into a beer and sold it.
Although after we did that, people came forward and said, I would use this cheese and that base to pair with this food. I'm like, guys, you're taking this way too seriously.
And we had some more staunch brewers that
Yeah.
really didn't like what
It
we
was
did.
definitely not Run Heights Boat.
Well,
No.
man, we're gonna get into a whole others thing, but I'm gonna say on the record, you really should pasteurize that stuff. And
It was a gimmick.
yeah, pasteurization is something that we're doing with all non-alcoholic and should I say food-based beers, but pasteurization is a thing.
So Lava Lamp exists. Mm-hmm. Actually, do you even have
One and done.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is there any cans left?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
I mean, just a handful for posterity.
yeah.
I want to go back to the 10 paces thing.
Yeah.
Because
The real stuff.
I came in here a lot, and 10 paces was the thing I would order every week. And this was the straight lambic,
Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't
which
talked
has
even
not
about-
been on the menu
Yeah.
in a while.
it's been a while. We
And
got
there
some
have
good
been
shit
all
in the
these
barrel.
false pretenders
Yep.
under the 10 paces label, including a Berliner Weiss, which
Yeah.
to me is kind of its own thing,
Yeah.
and now it's being called 10 paces.
Yep.
And I'm just like,
I
what's
know.
going on?
This is our inability to market.
and I got no
Yeah.
problem with Berliner Weiss. It's fine beer.
Yep.
So what What is being put under this label?
I think everything that goes through our barrels, and
Yes.
through our cellar next door, is
Well,
going
and
to have
also
that label.
so Berliner Weiss is going to be
The hot
half
sauce.
yeast, half bacteria. Is that correct?
What's that?
Berliner Weiss is made half with yeast and half with bacteria.
Yeah, so Berliner Weiss is what pays the bills in the sour program because it turns quickly. We can make it in a couple months.
Didn't answer the question. Does it?
It's,
Where does the bacteria?
it's soured upstream, so you sour it right off the bat.
So you use yeast and bacteria?
Yeah, you start with bacteria to sour it, and then you finish it with yeast. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we have been working on more traditional versions of it, which take a little longer, but they're nothing like our lambics or Flanders.
Now, lambic is all bacteria, right? There's no yeast in
Lambic
lambic?
style. We should make sure that we say lambic,
Lambic
style
style.
because there's lambic is only from one place in the world, the Seine Valley in Belgium. But
Like champagne.
yeah, it's like that. So we all say lambic. We need a better way. Sonambic is what they call the Sonoma-based lambic. So anyway, we need to figure out a better way to describe these. That is made spontaneously. Traditionally speaking, you're supposed to open the windows to your wherever you have.
So
your,
let random yeast come in and
you
do
just
their
let the
thing.
air blow through, and it brings all the flora with it, and just spontaneously makes this thing sour. And that's how it's made in Belgium. We don't yet do it that way.
Yet.
So there's another reason why it's really a lambic quote style.
All more reason we need a pipe bridge.
Oh yeah, there's.
Oh, you can
there
hook
you
up
go.
the cool
Another
ship
use.
over
Another
to y'all.
use.
Huh.
Another use.
I was going to suggest that.
It goes on and on. But that's done but you're going to get a mixture of yeast and bacteria when you do that. The yeast that you have, though, are not good for making beer. They're not going to be able to tolerate generally the alcohol that we're talking about. They'll tucker out at a certain level, and then you have what are known as Brettanomyces, which is itself a yeast. But
Wait, is that a bacteria or a
it is a yeast, yeah, and it's
technically.
really closely related to what we normally brew with. We use Cerevisiae, and it's related very, very closely to that Saccharomyces.
Go team?
But
Yeah.
makes different flavors.
But it makes very different flavors, and it's very natural in the environment. But it can only tolerate up to so much, but then it's a low and slow game with Brett. It will drudge on, and it takes months to get there.
So back to Gary's question. We call it 10 paces if it's a sour, if it's been soured. Is that right?
I think that's a good.
So our Berliner Weiss
that's a
is
good
a
way to say
sour
it.
beer.
Sour ale.
Any of the lambics, the Flanders Reds,
And
who
the
else?
Berliner Weiss, which is the quick turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the hot sauce.
And the hot
And
sauce.
then the hot sauce, yeah.
So you can. We're almost like we're working this out amongst ourselves right now as we're
Absolutely.
staring at each
Everyone's
other.
hearing our
Yeah.
brainstorming right now.
For the record.
Yeah.
Like I guess I see it even. It is all fermented, soured stuff at
Exactly.
this point,
I think-
but could it include some other non-sour thing that we do? Is it
Together?
Is it is it the sour or is it just the collaboration too?
Ooh,
So
that's
That is
a
a
good
good
question.
point. Yeah.
Well, that was going to be my
Yeah.
next question. Where do things go from here?
Well, I have on the slate to do about a dozen different Belgian beers. I can never find time to do, never find tanks to do them. So there's a possibility that it goes into that, and this
three
becomes an
open ones right
entire Belgian brand, right? We can really look at it that way. With, as you point out, Berliner Weiss being the odd duck there, but I think we don't know. I think everyone's hearing us brainstorm in real time here.
I like the name. There's a story behind it. I would just like tighten the branding.
Yeah.
I guess that would be what
Do
the
we
best-
have branding?
I mean,
You do whether or not you think you
yeah,
That's fair. Yeah.
it exists.
Not
Are you in control of it?
Yeah, not controlling it is
Yeah.
is still in some ways controlling it, letting it be.
I think you
spontaneous.
could do 10 paces lambic, 10 paces whatever,
Right.
colon this.
Yeah.
But maybe just create a space where we define it as it's going to be this type of thing, and that's what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
And then you maybe could make a series of
We-
beers out of it.
We definitely have spent a lot of mental energy on it, and Alex Schultz is part of this conversation. As far as he's our graphic designer, and for all of our labels, and he's got this concept where the alley itself between us becomes the center of the label, and you kind of get to see the back of each building. And he's thinking about different hues that you can apply to each different label without having to make something really complicated and ornate each time. So I think there's something to that, and it celebrates the actual separation of the buildings, and it pictures both of the breweries.
And I like there's been a couple. So our Flanders Red, I think, is that the one that's dual flirtation? Mm-hmm. I like
That's the one that we
was-
do
I like that
black
name.
currants in.
Yeah.
It's an homage to consecration for anyone that's out there that's a fan of Russian River Brewing.
But just this idea of like we're kind of dueling breweries, but we're team members. But that's the kind of leaning into that fascination that people have that we're not competitors, that we actually work really well together. That's why I like the name of 10 Paces. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
dual, but it's
exhausting to have to keep saying that because it's never even been on my mind that we're competing.
No.
The slice of pie, I always bring this up, the slice of pie that we're competing, that we work, that we sell beer to, the people that buy beer.
Like out in the market.
Yeah, why would we compete over that teeny little slice? There's a whole Pac-Man out there, way more to go after as far as the Miller drinkers. We can convert people. There's no reason to compete over the scraps here. I don't mean to call who drinks here the scraps, but you know what I'm saying. It's a teeny slice.
Have an alley with two hands shaking across the alley.
But behind their back is a loaded gun. Yes.
There is a really corny iteration where Bobby and I are standing back to back.
cartoon bodies in your
Yeah.
faces.
Yeah. It's floating
photoshopped
around.
on.
Yeah. I've since thought this is kind of violent, but like a 6-shooter, looking down the rounds of a 6-shooter, each hole represents a pepper, which represents the strength of the hot sauce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something there. There's stuff that we can work. There's some ideas
We are
on the
not
wall.
in the business of marketing.
Yeah, but it comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
They're all
When I got started, I was in the same boat as you guys, and eventually I just realized it's all marketing.
It really
And,
is.
and I realized that when I met some of the stupidest people I've ever met in my life who were very rich, and
Yeah.
it was all because of marketing.
Wow.
I would not go that far, but
Oh, I would.
I
These were
mean,
truly
okay, if you have
dumb people.
a lot of money and a lot of marketing, maybe, but I think you got to have a product. You got to have product because you got to get them to come back. I think you can get them in once with marketing, but they come back for the story and which is marketing in itself. But they're coming in for the product that they paid
but it's
money for.
equally important.
Yeah, I would actually maybe argue marketing is even more important if I had to pick
Oh,
one.
Stephanie
But I
Harvey,
wouldn't
I
say
hope
it's
you're
100% marketing. Yeah, I've learned that over the years. It's exhausting trying to get the story out there, but it's important.
So, what does the future hold?
All right.
I mean, I know you guys have talked about like some future plans about, increasing capacity. Is that something you think you would do together, or at least some way?
Just not even the 10 paces necessarily, but
Yeah,
just
like
the breweries.
The core brand.
5-10 years from now.
Well,
It's hard to think
jump
about
in
that
front,
far.
front real quick. I think we want to see both breweries running as much as they can run.
Right.
And if they're not brewing as much as 2 or 3 times a day, then there's no reason for either of us to be thinking about expanding on our own to another brewery. We need to make sure we're maxing both facilities out, in my mind.
Yeah, we have a lot of brewing capacity here. I mean,
So that's where I stand on the future. I don't have plans to open another brewery because Ben's got a lot of capacity next door. I'd rather buy tanks or to help fund tank installations next door. I think that's much more intelligent as far as growth.
I think what also is just to continue to invest in this spot of downtown Appleton, and make both places that much more of a destination.
I hereby dub this block the brewery district.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, who's going to contend or
two, but-
contest that? Yeah.
Out of 5 breweries in this town, is there 5? 1, 2, 3.
But back to 10 paces, I think that the future has to be, we got to put some muscle behind that. Because we put too much energy into it. And it's some
let
of
it just-
it's some of the best sour beer in the state.
That is true.
And I'm not just saying that.
Oh, yeah, we had
pulled, I
Brent
pulled nails in the
Miller
barrels this week,
come
and
up and
I'm
taste
just
it.
blown away. Oh yeah, so I have a friend who does yeast propagation for Miller Brewing, so she's in charge of some pretty high level microbiology at a little brewery.
She brought
called
her
Miller.
friend, colleague,
Yeah.
who's the sour beer program expert.
Oh yeah, so they all pulled nails and agreed it's some of the most incredible.
Pulling nails means from the
combinations.
barrel, you have these little stainless steel nails that you can pull out so you can sample.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what pulling nails means.
Should have had those samples before we started this episode.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, it's some
so
extraordinary
this crappy
stuff.
light lager.
Yeah, stupid lager.
A gold medal winning
Yeah.
light lager.
Last question: when is the lambic style
Right.
10 paces going to return?
Honestly, it's about logistics now. It's ready to go. So we'll get it out as soon as we can get to it. I would say in the next month you'll see it.
We are actually out of
Yeah.
squirrel. We are out of sour right at the moment.
Yeah, we're all because there's going to be a lot of fruited options coming out. I think we have 4 new fruited options coming out, 2 versions of Flanders, some straight lambics.
I just heard that tart cherry is going to be one of the flavors of 2025.
Oh, we're way out of
BT-dub.
that. All we got to do is start 11 years ago, and then we can be ahead of things. I love it.
Who makes up this stuff?
I don't know, but it's yeah.
I think the flavor.
It's all big cherry that's behind it.
I think the flavor
Pistachio was another one.
Yeah.
Oh,
flavor of 25 is neo-prohibitionism. We'll have a whole episode on that. Sorry, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. Oh boy, yeah, this non-alcoholic thing, I'm all about it.
Stop
I'm all
talking.
about the January for health reasons, but we should all be aware that there is a movement out there.
until then, we will have a
okay with
lambic
Yeah.
out soon. Please come enjoy.
All right,
And
that's
hey,
going to
Lambic.
wrap up this episode of Respecting the Beer. Make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player so you never, ever miss an episode. And join the Facebook group to get updates between the episodes and join the show over on Patreon. We actually have t-shirts now. And until next time, please remember to respect the beer.